When I was a kid, I didn't really understand the Lenten story of using discomfort and struggle to understand the depth of one's own character or the depth of God's love. I thought, after all, isn't the whole point to find happiness and comfort? Why would I seek out discomfort? And then in my teen years, I began to understand. It was a bit of a process for me. But from my very first football practice, now recall, this is before we were sharing the information we now have around head injuries. From my first practice, I would regularly push myself to the brink of collapse. And it wasn't about winning or even doing my best, per se. It was about the struggle revealing something about myself and God's love. Fast forward a couple of years, and I'm portaging canoes through Algonquin Park in Ontario. And again, there's something about being outside in a beautiful setting, but there was something about the struggle of carrying that canoe and carrying the gear across land from lake to lake that allowed me to learn something about myself. There's something about the struggle itself that is revelatory. Now, I don't understand pain for the sake of pain. But I do get that when there is struggle that pulls us out of our thinking selves and into our experiential selves, then we can begin to experience a connectedness that we hadn't experienced before. There is something about achievement for the sake of achievement, but this is about tapping into a source of possibility that is greater than ourselves. This is about finding connection. And so I'm starting to get it. When Jesus leaves behind the known path, when he leaves behind the comforts of home, he's seeking out a new way of doing things, a new way of being. He's testing his limits to know what his boundaries are and what or who will sustain him when he can't sustain himself anymore. Which source will become his new source when he can't rely on just himself? He leaves behind his comforts. He leaves behind food and water. We're told for 40 days. Whether that's a literary device or reality, it doesn't really matter. We can take for sure that he found discomfort. And while he was in the midst of discomfort, he encountered temptation. Hey, why not just quit this fast, quit this vision quest and turn this rock into bread? The tempter, who was actually in his own head, says. Or hey, why not give up that sense of powerlessness to seize all the power of the land? Says the tempter, who is actually in himself. Or why not give in to your self-doubt by relying on some outside test to prove who you are? Says the tempter, who is actually in his head. And in this, he discovers the depth of God's love and the depth of connection. He discovers the depth of his own character and who he actually is. And so my invitation is to identify the comforts that you might give up, so that the discomfort might reveal something about the depth of your own character and the depth of God's love, so that you might come to know the wholeness and the fullness promised in this life, knowing that we are so deeply loved and we are so free to love.